I wouldn't be in this role today if I haven't met a leader who dared to kind of think a bit outside the normal profile. I'm not a middle-aged white male. I was probably a pain in the ass for many. But what do you mean by inspirational trip? You know, this is an Excel file. Let's look at the KPIs. I think as a leader, you need to create a clear vision and a clear direction. It's important also to have fun. And it's really hard to have fun over Teams or Google Meets. After this session, I'm going to go down to the CrossFit box. The best moment in my whole career, professional career, is when
Welcome to Sports and Outdoor Mentors. In this episode, I chat with Sara Molnar, the President and CEO of Peak Performance at their amazing global headquarters in Stockholm, Sweden. We chat about life before Peak Performance, from moving from law to leadership and finding a balance between work, family and sport, plus much, much more. Before we get into this episode, I have one favour to ask. Please hit the subscribe button. This helps us to continue to grow the channel so we can elevate the content and continue to bring you great insights from other sports and outdoor industry leaders. Thanks for your support, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Sara, so looking back over your life, actually, not just your career, what are the defining moments that have led you to where you are today as the CEO and President of Peak Performance, but also with a vice chair role with one of the largest football associations in Sweden? So what are those defining moments that brought you to today?
Well, I guess, it's everything that you're exposed to throughout life that kind of forms you to who you are. I think I'm a very value-driven person. I think that really comes from my mom and dad, from my family, and that's, formed me to who I am. I also am the youngest. I have a 9-year-old older brother, which has always been, he has always been challenging me. I never wanted to be like the slowest, so I think that has given me a bit of the winning spirit that really has taken me to where I am. And then I really like problem solving. That kind of triggers me. So I think throughout my professional career, it has really been about like problem solving, not always problems that has I've had passion in, but always like the winning spirit of solving the problem.
Interesting. So that relationship with your older brother, that was like quite a competitive relationship, would you say? Not for him, I think. He was so much older than me. So he just, no matter what I did, I was probably, slowing him down but I really didn't want him to see me like that. So when we were skiing, I always tried to keep his pace but 9 years is a lot. If I was 10, he was 19. So Yeah, big difference. And you mentioned skiing. I know that at an early age, you used to compete in extreme skiing. So that experience, did that kind of mold and influence you in any way? And what did you take away from that?
Well, freeride skiing or extreme skiing is really about, taking decisions and make your own line down the mountain, being bold, but still not overdo it or take stupid decisions. So I think, yes, it has learned me a lot. And also, both when it comes to like the extreme part and the adrenaline in that skiing, but also to mature and understand your own capacity. And also the other part of it, and being out in the wild where no one else goes, more or less. It's just you and the nature, which I still think is a fantastic combination, and also one of the reasons why I kind of ended up at Peak Performance.
Somehow that connection with nature at an early age was maybe one of those factors, actually, as you said, that led you here. So other than skiing, were you doing other outdoor activities as a kid?
I did play soccer as well. Yeah. Okay. And my family has always been out in the nature and, hiking and cross-country skiing. It's been a big part of our lives.
Yeah. So before joining Peak Performance, you spent 7 years initially as a lawyer, I believe, and then 7 years in financial services. So obviously quite a contrast to where you find yourself today. What were the best and the worst experiences of that time as a lawyer and in the financial services industry?
Well, during those years, I had great opportunities. I worked with fantastic people, knowledgeable, and I worked in companies with very mature structures, processes for everything, more or less. And so I would say I learned a lot. And also, during that time we had a bank crisis, which was good and bad. I again learned a lot about how to handle crisis. Lehman, I was working close to compliance during the Lehman crisis, which learned, it was a really strong experience. But at the same time, I didn't really have my heart in what I was doing. I was probably not really triggered by the same things as my colleagues when I worked in those industries. It was, I was always, again, after solving the problem, and that triggered me rather than the kind of things that you are, striving for in a bank. Or
when you look back on those times and the things that you learned, is there anything that stands out that has really helped you or helps you today in your role today?
Sure. 14 years in the financial industry and in those different roles, of course, formed me to a lot who I am today. I think it is, for me, really important to have processes for things. It's also what I needed to do. I was working in the bank. I was working close to the trading floor. And sometimes you really need to take fast decisions. You don't have all facts, but you need to dare to take the decision anyway. I think that is something that I bring with me. I think, it's also about having the right people in the right place to build the knowledge that you need to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. So that, just touching on that decision making, I can imagine in that environment, as you say, you're really forced to make decisions quickly. So when you're in those situations today, what's the process you go through from a decision-making point of view? I'm sure you're taking data on board, but also there's some gut feelings as well. What's the balance? How do you approach that?
Well, first of all, as I'm not, born into this industry, I've been working in this industry now since 2016. So I need to be surrounded with people that know their things, that are experts within their field to guide me. That's super important. And I need to be able to also get the information from different angles so I can take the decision. So I think that's the most important part for me. And then, yes, sometimes it is a stomach feeling more than facts.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then you need to dare to go with that stomach feeling and believe that, and if it's wrong, then you'll have to fix it afterwards.
But I think oftentimes one of the dangers, especially working in a corporate environment, is that you can be sometimes too slow to take decisions, and I think that ability to take quick decisions and somehow have almost like a fast fail approach to what you're doing. As you said, okay, we all make mistakes, then it's about learning from it. So it's getting that balance between gut and fact and data is not always easy. So in addition to your role here, as I already mentioned, so you're, I think, vice chair for one of the largest football associations in Sweden. So I'm really interested to know how that came about. You've already maybe hinted to that, saying that you played soccer when you were younger, but how did that come about? what does that entail, and also why do you choose to give up your time to do that?
Well, as I said, I when I was younger, I played soccer, and for me, the soccer team and being part of that community was really like a safe zone. It was something else from school. It was where, you had your teammates, you were always welcome, and it was a belonging where where everyone had the same value, so to say. And I have two daughters, both of them play soccer, and I've also, seen a bit of how the development in especially in Sweden then has become, a bit rougher. The whole society is getting more and more demanding and rougher. And I do believe that sport has a very big role to play for our kids and teenagers to, help them feel that they have this community and safe zone where they are welcome, where everyone is included. And what made me engage is that I also see that, we have been leaning against getting more, searching for young talents and seeing that exclusion rather than inclusion. And that is for me, contradictional to what I think sports and a soccer team should be. So that's the reason why I decided to take on the role as vice chairman.
Okay, great. And so in that role, what does that entail? What are you, just on a high level? I'm just interested to understand.
Well, it is what we've done recently is to look into what does this specific association stand for? What are the values that we should never, compromise with? And how do we secure that is also lived in all teams and by everyone? And supporting also the staff in like some of the issues and topics that they face in their everyday challenges. However, we're quite a big board and everyone is very engaged. So I would say it's a team doing it, and that's also why it works for me.
So you're married, as you already mentioned. You've got two daughters. 2 senior leadership roles in the industry. So finding a balance between professional and personal must be tough. So do you have any non-negotiables or any rules that you set yourself that, okay, this is important for me and, I won't compromise on this to make sure that I maintain a good balance?
Well, I do never compromise on my children. And with that said, that's truth with modifications, of course, because when they really need me, I was going to say, children can think that they need you a lot, but when they truly need me, I'm there for them, no matter where I am. If it is in the middle of the night and I'm on the other side of the world, I pick up the phone, I have a FaceTime call or whatever is needed. But I'm not alone in it. I have also there. They have a great father. We have a team around them with my mother, my husband's mother. So, but that is, I always want to be there for them, and I set off time to be there for homework and seeing them. I don't cook a lot. That's maybe my weak spot where I don't have really the time to do so. But no, I never compromise. When they truly need me, I want to be there for them.
It must not be easy though, because I'm sure that, with your roles, your responsibilities, there's always something to do. There's probably always somebody somewhere in the world that wants to speak to you. So how do you manage that balance? Is there a way or an approach that you have to really work on this?
I'm super disciplined. Okay. That's, when at work, I work. And when I offset, I lock time in my calendar for when I'm home and being present. I think it's super important to not mix up those different parts of your life. Sometimes, yes, it's not doable, but then I'm also clear to my family and say, I now need to go and take this meeting. I know it's middle of dinner time, but I'll be back in 15 minutes or whatever it takes. But not working and having dinner at the same time. Really being disciplined to when I'm there, I'm also mentally present. I think that's the key.
And where did that discipline come from? Was that from your legal education, or even before that? Where did that come from?
I don't know. I think partly yes, but I think it has become, a method for survival when it's really hectical, and you need to. I think you will not find peace in any of the different roles that everyone has in their life if you don't separate them. If you mix everything up, you will you lose your inner compass. So for me, it's a way of really making sure that I do what I can in the zone that I am.
Yeah. I wish I was able to say I was as successful as that. So let's talk a little bit about the industry. And one of the things that I know you've talked about in the past and you're passionate about is diversity in leadership. And particularly when we look at our industry, most senior leadership roles are filled by white middle-aged men. I know that for you, finding that balance, that diversity is important. So I guess what's your approach to that here at Peak? But also, how should we address this as an industry? Because I think personally on my side, where I am today, working from a recruitment point of view, it's something that I'm always encouraging my clients to address. But there is oftentimes real reluctance to do that. And so, I'm really interested to get your point of view on this.
Well, first of all, I think it's super important with diversity. It's the mix of people that sets a good team. So my focus is always to try and get the right competences in the right place, and also trying to get different dimensions into a team. But I do think here at Peak Performance we have quite equal gender split, actually a bit more female than men overall in the company. So do I have in my lead team, but it's nothing that I'd actively, it's just maybe it is because I'm not a middle-aged white male that I get those type of profile also that are curious about the brand and the company. It's actually I'm more focused on making sure that I have the different dimensions, and I think on the global expansion journey, which we are as a brand, it's also super important going forward. We are quite Nordic in our organization today. So right now it's more about getting the global competences in.
Industry perspective, is there something that you think that we should focus on, that we should do a better job to address this issue? Is there something that kind of stands out in your mind?
Yeah, I wouldn't be in this role today if I haven't met a leader who dared to kind of think a bit outside the normal profile and believed in me. And I think that's probably something that I would give as one aspect, to dare to see that the different competence is not a threat, it's rather a strength. And I sometimes think it's easier to go with, the usual profile, or someone has been in the industry or knows a lot already. But to have that other dimension can actually lead to a larger development and larger opportunity than going with some of the safeguards. So I think it requires a bit of boldness to believe in and see other things than the stereotype that is often maybe the easiest way.
What's your point of view around recruiting from outside of the industry? Because again, I speak to people that are always very reluctant to do that. But I think, to your point, a good balance is important. So you're open to bringing people in that are coming from outside of the industry?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I came in. So it would be a bit weird if I said no. And I think, when I joined Peak Performance, coming from a totally different industry, yes, I needed some calibration. I came from a 150-year-old bank into a brand with, a creative part and a totally different business model. I was probably a pain in the ass for many because I didn't, what do you mean by inspirational trip? This is an Excel file. Let's look at the KPIs. So I needed to calibrate, but it was also a great journey for me, which I haven't regretted at all, ever. But also the way I needed to question things to understand the business. I think that was super healthy for the business because I needed to understand, and there was, for me, no kind of set way of how you needed to do things. So why do we actually do it like this? Why does the business case on a store opening, why doesn't that, and it doesn't tell me the actual numbers here. I don't understand it. Can you please explain? So I think that, of course, you can't have a full organization with people who has no clue on how things should be done. But I think it's healthy to have those questions asked every now and then in different parts of the organization.
So what do you consider to be your most important task as a leader?
I think as a leader, you need to create a clear vision and a clear direction so that everyone knows, where we're going and why. And then, of course, they need the tools to be able to get there. And we spoke a bit about culture. I think also as a leader to enable, I cannot as a leader set the culture. That's up to everyone. But I do think to nurse and make sure the culture is there to motivate and engage people, and also facilitate, life balance and well-being and having fun at work.
What's the task that you find the most difficult to do, and is there a way that, because at the end of the day, there are always things that we're not good at, and probably they're the things that we put off to the last minute in some cases. But is there that thing that you don't like doing or you consider yourself not good at? How do you approach actually doing it, knowing that you ultimately have to? Over
the years, I think I've learned to, first of all, sleep on those things a bit. I used to, when I was younger, I was really reacting very, very quickly and, taking it. Now I need some time and I need to, think it through, maybe bounce it with someone and make sure. I often make things bigger in my head than they actually are. So it's about taking them for what they really are and making sure I put the right emphasis into it. And so I think that's a great learning. Don't act immediately. Give it some time and reflect and bounce it with someone. What I really don't like, as I mentioned, I like to have people around me that more or less knows everything better than me. So, and I need to have also people around me that I trust. And I guess what I don't like is to be into the details. But if I do see that, what is agreed is not happening, and that is something, going back, remind, ask for details, that is something that really drains me and annoys me, which I don't like.
You've mentioned several times the importance of those, I guess, your leadership team, the people around you. When you're looking to add people to that team, is there something, or what's the most important thing that you're looking for when you're maybe outside of kind of skills, because of course that varies depending on the position, but is there something that you're really looking for when you're hiring people like that are going to sit in your team that, as you said, you need to trust? And
I mean, again, it is a lot about the values, making sure that we share the same values, and also that you are a fit into our culture at Peak Performance. We have a very strong culture, and I think it's hard to like to be here if you don't like the culture. So it's not, it goes both way. It's hard to succeed in the role, and it's also probably not good for the person to jump into a culture if you're not a culture fit and share the values.
How do you get a feeling of whether they do fit with the culture? Because that's, as we talked about, it's super difficult.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is to spend time and find ways to get beyond the corporate answers and spend time with the candidate. Go for a walk, have maybe a training session together, or discuss other things than work. What do they think about soccer and soccer teams and whatever it might be, that you can get, put the person into another context and also get to know them. But it takes a bit of time. But recruiting and getting the right people in the right place and the right fit, it is tricky, and it requires time.
Can you share your perspective of how a company culture can ultimately determine or be a big part of the success of a company, of a business?
The first time I got exposed to really strong culture was actually when I started at Peak Performance. Culture tied to values. The value words for Peak Performance is passion, togetherhood, responsibility, and winning spirit. And I haven't met anyone within our organization who doesn't have a true passion for this brand. And I think, when you go through hard times, to have everyone caring about what they do and act as a team and wanting to do the best for the brand, that is a super strength.
How do you maintain that culture as the business grows, and as you become more and more international and more global? I assume that is more and more difficult to maintain that culture. So what's the approach that you have here to try and maintain that? Yeah,
no, that's actually something that we are discussing and reflecting a lot about, because it's one thing to have a strong culture in your HQ, where people are together all the time, but then we're now expanding in North America, in Asia. Everyone within the brand needs to be an ambassador and needs to contribute. And we really need to make sure that you also onboard everyone into the culture. So it is hard for someone who's never been to Sweden, never been at HQ, to understand the feeling you actually get when you enter this building at Peak Performance. So it's the onboarding, to get everyone here, make sure that they understand what this brand is all about, how we treat each other. And the next step is, of course, to also include our consumers in this culture and make sure that, every interaction with this brand, you get the same feeling of being part of this tribe who wants to stand for our values and our culture.
Yeah. So that's even going the next level beyond to the consumer. So I assume then the the messaging and that you're doing through retail then is very much tied around that culture and values.
And how you meet the customer in stores, online, and honestly, I think this is nothing I have created or have been created recently at Peak Performance. This brand was founded by skiers wanting to do what no one else had done. And already from the beginning, when the brand was founded, there was this community and true tribe around the brand. So it is for us that are, here and now, and for the future, those coming after us, to really nurse that and make sure that, because it's such an important part of the DNA of the brand.
Yeah. As an outsider, my perception of the brand has always been that, you're very committed to, employee well-being, etc. So how does that culture help maintain a healthy work environment and healthy workplace for your team, and what strategies do you put in place to really ensure that it's really lived? Because I think a lot of businesses tend to put these statements on the wall, but then when you talk to people in the business, there's a disconnect between the reality. So how do you really bring these things to life?
Well, I mean, there are those kind of, I would say, easy things, because that's how I see that part, is to really make sure that everyone, coming back to, everyone having that passion for the brand, make sure that we also live our brand. We have training sessions. I think it's now 5 times a week in the building. We have yoga sessions, running sessions, CrossFit sessions that everyone can participate in during the work week, but also making sure that we live our brand for the activities we stand for. It might be that the team goes skiing or goes hiking, and make sure that we set off time for everyone to live the brand. And I think that's one part of it. But the other part is also kind of making sure that we have an individual leadership in the sense that you see each individual, and everyone has different needs. And I think that's also one part of making a life balance for our employees. How can we meet them where they need us? Maybe they will perform better if we help them with, or give them the opportunity to. So all those aspects, I think, is important.
And are you able to take advantage of those great benefits that you talked about earlier on, the different training sessions, etc.? Yeah. That's great.
After this session, I'm going to go down to the CrossFit box. So yeah.
But I think it's really important, because at the end of the day, you set the tone. So I think if people see that you doing that, then they're going to feel, okay, well, actually, yeah, this is something that, Sara is doing. So great. That means, I can. So.
No, I really try to be part of the organization. We eat together, we train together, and it's so important for me to know everyone's names and, remember a bit like, oh yeah, she just came back from maternity leave, and she did that course of doing that, and she was traveling there, or he just came back from his bike competition, and those things, to try and remember and be part of, and be a human also, and not always be just, the CEO that lives its own life.
Yeah, in the ivory tower. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. So over the last, it seems like a long time now, several years, I think the world has moved from crisis to crisis, which then leads to other crises in some cases. So do you have examples of how the culture and the values of the company have actually enabled you to navigate through those crises?
Yeah, I think COVID was one of those crises when we had to lean against our culture. it was tough. We had reduced working schedule. We also had to let people go out of cost-saving aspects, and it was really a tough time for everyone. And just by seeing how everyone really stepped up, and again back to this, like the passion and the winning spirit and taking the responsibility, and that was impressive. I'm impressed about how the organization really took that on. And then of course being also not seeing each other and not interacting, I think it was needed to be able to interact again and to start, loading yourself with each other and the interaction you get in a physical meeting. But through that time, we could really rely on our culture and our values, which was fantastic.
One of the things coming out of COVID, of course, is the work from home trend, let's say. What's been your approach to this, and have you found it more difficult to retain that culture and live by the values when people are more dispersed?
Yes and no. I think we saw that it was, starting to be. I started to get a bit worried, but also as soon as it has opened up, we also see that people want to be here, and we give the opportunity to our employees to partly work from home, because I think that's important, coming back to the individual leadership and making sure that everyone has the opportunity to pick up their kids every now and then really early, or whatever you need to have that life balance. But I would say that we do see that the mix of being present and have the interaction with your colleagues, and also being able to sit at home, get things done, and that is for us working very well.
I guess anyway it's the same challenge when you're international anyway.
Yeah.
To transmit those values and that culture, whether people are working in an apartment 100 meters away or working, thousands of miles away, it's the same challenge ultimately.
It is, and I think, as I said in the beginning, it's important also to have fun, and it's really hard to have fun over Teams or Google Meets. It's not that fun to meet someone there. It's much more fun to, have lunch together or train together or sit in a physical meeting arguing than waiting for the other one to pause so that or someone gets thrown out of the meeting in the middle of a discussion.
There's still a long way to go with the technology, because you said all those things still happen. It's not quite there yet. If you knew you weren't going to fail, would you do anything differently?
There are always things that you realize you could have done differently. But I do think that unknown and the risk of not, doing it the right way is kind of also part of the challenge. And if you would know to 100% that it wouldn't fail, I don't think it would be super exciting. It would be rather boring.
If you look back over your career, what do you consider to be, I'm not sure people think about it like this, but what's a big failure that you've had that was tough for you to manage at the time, and how did you personally manage that, and what came out of it on the positive side?
Well, there are circumstances where I feel that I have compromised with my values. In situations where I've felt like, okay, my values are not probably fully behind me right now. And it's a balance. How do you treat those situations, and what are the consequences of not going through with a decision or what it can be? And those are the tough moments, really. And you learn a lot, and looking backwards, you might have said, like, maybe it wasn't worth it. but at that time, knowing what you knew then, that's the decision you took. And I think also one thing that I try to, to regret something you've done and spend time on something you can't really undo is kind of making another mistake, because you can't solve it that way anyway.
What do you struggle with? What do you find, either professionally or outside of professional life? Yeah, what do you find difficult?
Time. I need more time.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest struggle. Yes, I'm saying like I'm super disciplined, but it. I need to also very much prioritize things. What can I delegate and what? But if I had more time, I could do everything a bit better.
Yeah, time is the one resource that we can't. Money doesn't buy. No way to get more time, unfortunately. Have you ever worked with or had the support of a coach or a mentor that you've kind of personally kind of targeted to say, okay, yeah, I want to work with somebody to help me?
Mm-hmm. And I still work with her, and I would say she's both a professional coach in my professional life, but at the same time also for me as a person and in my private life. She has become a mixture. If I have a tough argue with my husband, I call her and cry, but and also if I have a tough meeting with our owners, I can also get her to put it in perspective and how do we do it better next time, and so yeah, I haven't always had that, and it took some time to find a person that I felt I really wanted to open up to and that I could trust, and that I also felt worth investing again the time to spend time with. And
how did you find that person? I'm interested, because I get a lot of questions about, how do you find coaches and mentors? Was it somebody that was recommended for you, or did you kind of actively kind of search? And it sounds like maybe you tried with a few people and have obviously found somebody now that works for you.
Yeah, those that I've tried earlier has been those that, they have done something for the team and you kind of were, given them as a support, or I didn't choose them myself. And I think it's really important. And this one that I'm now, we don't see each other that often. It has been, according to, I don't really have the time. So, but she just, stumbled in my way. We were doing another thing. I really liked her, and we were doing a team thing together. And we had a couple of sessions together, and it all felt very good and natural to talk to her about things. And so I think it is really about finding that right person who also dares to challenge you. Yeah,
I think that's really important. Yeah, somebody that isn't afraid to say whatever they think.
And also doesn't have an agenda of their own.
Yeah.
It's not, her true agenda is to help me.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's great advice. What type of leader are you, if you had to describe your approach to leadership? How would you do that?
Oh, first of all, I think it is probably not for me to describe what type of a leader. A leader is how you are perceived. And so I guess I just have to say what type of leader I would like to be perceived as. And I want to be transparent as I can be in this role. I want to be also direct, clear, and fair. I want to be humble because I don't know everything. At the same time, I want to also be bold and taking those hard decisions when needed. So a combination of humble and bold, I think that's how I would like to be perceived as a leader.
How have you seen your approach and your style of leadership evolve over your career?
I think the decision taking has improved. And also when I entered this role, I had more or less my old team members becoming my direct reports. So it was also a bit hard for me to find my leadership against my team members. But I think I have become much more secure in my role, and also a bit more self-confidence, which I think you need. You need to believe in yourself. You need to believe in your stomach feeling and dare to trust it, which is something that matures over time, of course.
What's your favorite piece of sports or outdoor gear? And you're not allowed to say something from Peak Performance. That's too easy. That's too easy.
Oh, okay.
Because you must have other gear that isn't Peak Performance.
Yeah. No, but I would say that's my skis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have a few.
I would imagine.
But depending on condition and feeling the weight of your skis on your shoulder on your way to the gondola, that's a fantastic feeling.
Yeah. Are you still doing some free ride skiing now?
I try as much as I can. The best moment in my whole career, professional career, is when I got the opportunity to actually do the female run in the finals of Freeride World Tour in Verbier a couple of years ago.
Wow.
So that was on my bucket list, and it was super fun.
I would imagine.
So I try to always, also live the brand and ski with the team and be out there, test our things.
That sounds amazing. I mean, already Verbier is a great place to ski, but to do that, that's, as you said, a nice one to tick off the list. So what book or podcast or, video or TV show would you recommend for somebody that is working the industry to maybe inspire them or give them some drive and energy?
I recently read Legacy by James Kerr. It is about leadership. It's a leadership book from All Blacks, the New Zealand rugby team. And that's a book I really would recommend. It's about culture. It's about asking why in both good and bad times, and not being afraid of really doing the dirty work. And so that's a great leadership book that I would recommend.
What's the most valuable piece of advice you've ever received?
To not get stuck.
Okay.
Don't spend time don't spend time on things you can't change, and make the best of the situation, and just keep going forward and don't get stuck.
Yeah, that's good advice. Not always easy.
No.
But and was that advice you received early in your life, or was it something recently? Or
I think my mother is saying it to me probably once a week.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and she's and there's probably a reason why she's saying it as well, because I have a tendency to, want to solve everything, or how can I, find a solution to this. But sometimes you just need to move on and prioritize to focus on the things that you actually can solve, and that will have the largest impact.
What a brilliant piece of advice from your mum. That's and also great that it comes from your mum as well. Somehow it's even more valuable. I don't know. That's my perception anyway, but that's great. That's really good. If today was the last day in your role here in Peak, what message would you give to your team?
I have a fantastic team. They know what needs to be done. I would probably say follow your instincts and stand up for what you believe is right.
And if you could give future leaders in the sports and outdoor industry 3 pieces of advice, what would they be?
One would probably be don't get stuck. And the second one, dare to challenge the usual way of doing things. Always ask why. And the third thing would be believe in people and their differences.
So as you know, this podcast aims to help people on their career path within the sports and the outdoor industry. So is there anything that we should have covered today that we haven't, or anything that I should have asked?
No, I think this industry is really filled with people with passion for the industry. And I think that's really rare, coming from the outside, from a different industry. Passion for what we do and what we stand for. And I think that's also something the whole industry needs to acknowledge. And it's a great opportunity for the whole industry going forward that we have so many passionate people.
Absolutely. I think that's the one thing that holds us, I think, somehow all together. Mm-hmm. Of course, different people in different businesses have different priorities and different values and different cultures, but I would say, generally speaking, it's that passion for the outdoors, for sport, for activity that really holds us together. So that's great. Well, thank you very much for your time, Sara. Thank you for inviting me here to Stockholm, to your beautiful offices. I'm very jealous walking around. It's been really good to talk to you. I think there's been lots of really interesting and useful pieces of advice for people there. So thank you very much. And
thank you for
it's been
having
great
me.
to chat.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I did. We love to read your feedback, so please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks again for your support. See you soon, and don't forget to subscribe.